Hello, class. We have another one of our master classes today, and this time we have a pretty special guest, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Hello, I'm Joel Braunn. I'm the bass professor at UT Austin. I formerly taught at Ball State in Indiana, where the illustrious man before you was a student of mine. And yeah, happy to help you all out and hopefully give you some tips that might be worthwhile.
All right, let's dig in.
Cool.
Cool.
Great.
Thank you.
So why don't you say what that piece was and kind of talk a little bit about that piece?
So it's Revery by Giovanni Badassini. It is Reverie is like a dream, so it's like a dream state. It's supposed to be kind of like a nice dream. It starts in a minor key, sort of sad, gets bright when it kind of repeats that first theme, and then has a nice little kind of cadenza at the end there.
Yeah. So the cool thing about this piece and a piece like this is that for bass players, we don't get typically to play the melody as much as the violins or other instruments. So one of the things that you want to look for is the really long kind of singing melodic sound and thinking more in terms of the melodic component as opposed to what we normally think of is the harmonic and kind of rhythmic drive that the bass gives the ensemble. So I think you're doing a great job with kind of generally doing that. And there's a couple of things that I think you could do that would enhance it more. And one is focusing a little bit more on the vibrato.
Okay.
Because the vibrato is one of the components of playing that really adds like a vocal singing quality to the sound. And, you know, Badassini was very well known as a bass virtuoso, but also as an opera conductor and a composer of operas. So all of his music is, you know, infused with that vocal operatic style. So why don't you play from the very beginning and see if both with your left hand in terms of the vibrato and in terms of just how long and connected you can make each note in the bow, see if you can kind of imitate this, like the human voice singing through the bass.
Okay.
Good. Excellent. That's much better. So one thing that I just want to bring to your attention and what you're doing really well is in terms of your finger placement. You know, you're able to get that vibrato that you want because of this, like, you know, round structure you have. So that's really great. And the bow, you know, everything's connected. One part where we typically have a little bit more trouble is in thumb position. So what I want you to do is play this, that A that you play on your third finger, and try to get that same quality vibrato there that you got at the very beginning. So one thing we have to be aware of is that when we vibrate on third finger in thumb position, the third finger is going to be a little straighter. It's not going to be quite as round, as curved as the other fingers. And then you want the motion to come from the whole forearm. So it's going to be a wider motion. So try it one more time. Exactly. Do you hear the difference?
I do, yeah. It's not as, it's wider, warmer.
Exactly. So that's one thing. Then another part that has to do with the bow is when we have all of these repeated notes, like so like this one. And then here we have 3 repeated on the same bow. That's easy for us to kind of make very stiff just because we can stop the bow, or we kind of think in terms of technically showing the rhythm. But if we were to sing that, you know, imagine that it's not a new articulations in terms of stopping the sound. Imagine that it's just like 3 syllables of the same word. So like, you know, Amsterdam, if you say Amsterdam, the sound never really stops. It's just slightly articulated. Does that make sense? So
Yeah,
can you try from this part? And see if you can just keep that sound going the whole time. Exactly. Very good. So that's a big component. Now what I want you to do is, can you just play a long tone, meaning you're gonna put the bow close to the bridge and just try to play as slow as you can while getting a full tone. Like that.
Which string?
Try it on the D string first. Good. So you can see that it's on the bow change that it gets a little bit more difficult, right?
Right.
So that bow change is something that happens a lot that we have to kind of maneuver very well so that there's no bump in the sound. And that, if you practice that exercise, now let's say do it on this D on the G string, do the same thing. And when you get to the tip, you're basically just gonna go the opposite way. So you'll go, try to avoid changing speed or doing anything different. You're just gonna, once you get to the end, just go the opposite way at the exact same speed. Did you notice that little bump that happened right at the bow change?
A little bit, yeah.
So you want to really now stay at the tip and just do this, like, and try to get it so that the bow change is as smooth as possible. Good, now do it right at the frog and start up bow and play. Excellent. So now, with that in mind, if you start the piece again, whenever you change bow, just try to make it as seamless as possible. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So hopefully you noticed that that really helped make everything a little more smooth and more vocal and flowing. And then if you just work on the vibrato work on this and really try to combine those as much as possible, you'll really get that singing quality. So the last little technical component I want to bring to your attention that will add to that, and which this piece shows a lot, are shifts. So like when you started here, all of these big shifts add that vocal quality too. So anytime you have a shift, and you already know this, but your students will not. Anytime you have a shift, you want to practice actually hearing the slide, because the way it works is that your finger actually slides on the string and measures the distance before you get to the next note. So let's say, and if you want to go really slowly and hear that glissando, that's good at first. And eventually you'll go a little slower, but you'll still do the same thing. So can you show us how you would practice that?
Yeah, where do you want me to do that?
Right from where we ended.
Okay.
Excellent. So that's a good first stage. And then the second stage would be to do it a little bit more fluidly with a little less glissando and a little bit more notes in between. So more like... Can you try that now? So every time you have a shift anywhere in music, you can practice it that way, and it'll help you get better intonation, more security, more connectivity, so like a smoother transition between those positions and between those notes. And especially for a piece like this, that's gonna make a big difference in terms of the final output.
All right.
Right, so can you go on right from where we just stopped and try to combine all three of those things? So you're going to think about smooth bow changes, lots of vibrato, and then that quality in those shifts.
All right.
Very good. Excellent. So I think that you showed really well how focusing on those three things can really change how you play that. And then last thing I want to draw your attention to, just like third finger in thumb position, fourth finger in the lower positions, especially in this region here, right before you get into thumb position, is going to be a little harder to hear that vibrato. So can you play this F sharp on fourth finger? And again, try to come around the bass a little bit more with your arm, and then really vibrate from your whole forearm so that you hear. Beautiful.
Would you mind going over some of the basics of vibrato?
Yeah, so the first thing you need are these, except for third finger and thumb position, you need just round, like an oval finger, because you need to place the string correctly on your finger so that you have this kind of shape, because your finger serves as a little hook that you dangle your arm on, and that's actually how you press the string down. You don't have to squeeze or clamp down. You just have this structure that you hang your hand on, and that's how you can press the string down. The string really has to be pressed down firmly in order to vibrate it, because vibrato is essentially just changing the pitch rhythmically. So once I have that, and I know that I'm in tune, because that also can affect whether you hear the vibrato or not if you're slightly out of tune, then you just swing your hand, and you can see that I don't wiggle my finger, I don't wiggle my wrist. It's as if I was just shaking a bottle of, Coca-Cola to get it all fizzy, but I'm latched on my finger, and then once I do that motion, I'm listening for the number of shakes or the number of oscillations, the changes in the pitch. So you can hear that's about like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can see that the motion can be pretty wide, but my finger is not going anywhere. I'm not actually moving my finger. It just kind of goes along the way that if a tree is rooted in the ground and a breeze comes, the top will sway, but the tree's not actually going to move or be uprooted. So this has to be how secure your finger is placed on the fingerboard, so that when this breeze comes, it can sway, but you're not going to uproot your finger.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want me to continue practicing that vibrato up, that fourth finger vibrato?
Yes. So the way you just showed, that was really okay. With fourth finger and with third finger and thumb position, you just want to remember that you want to get your arm over more, so you can get more weight like this.
Okay.
And then you're going to have a wider swing, which will be kind of more your forearm. When you're down here, you can see I kind of do it more with my hand. But as soon as I get up here, that's just not wide enough, so I have to bring that over to hear the vibrato.
All right, that makes sense.
So I think if you practice the vibrato on each finger in each region of the bass, and just listen for those changes of the pitch. If you practice long tones, and especially the bow changes, and you can do it on each string. And then if you practice the shifting exercise, anytime you have any of those big shifts, and try to put those together to get more coordination.
Okay.
And being able to do all of them at the same time. Then the bass, which is typically not considered a very melodic instrument, actually can be an extremely expressive melodic instrument. And we do have lots of music where we can kind of be the star and not just, right?
Right.
Which is fun in its own way, but so I think that's where you're at, and you played it really well.
Thank you. Cool. I'll wrap up. Thank you all for watching this video. Please, I don't know, pretend to give Mr. Braun a big old round of applause. I feel like I learned something from this lesson. I hope you learned something too. Look, hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to seeing you in the future.